Hello everyone. In this video, I'll show you I have created a console application. In the console application, I am going to import the Excel file, and inside the Excel file, I have 20,000 records around which I'm going to import into the Dynamics 365. To import those records, I'm going to use the one of my entity. I have named this as a import test. Inside this entity, there are two columns which I'm going to map the data to. One is the name field, another is the full name field. So the logical name of this name field is .NET underscore name, and for the full name is .NET underscore full name. So I will be mapping those 20,000 records from the Excel file into this table import test into these two columns. To show you currently for the records available for this one, I have opened the advanced file, and for the import test, I do not have any record available. So there is no record with the import test entity in the Dynamics as of now. So to map these records, we have to prepare the Excel file. And for that Excel file, what I have done is I have used the data management, and then we have the under the setting, we have data manager, and we can download the template for the imports if you want to. So when you download the template, it will something look like this, where you will have the columns which you want to map to data. So currently, since for that particular entity the import test, I have two columns which I am going to map to. So that is why it will give me the column with the name which I'm going to import, and this data we need to create it and to import it. So currently I have prepared the template also. This is the file name, and then it has the two columns. I'm going to read the data from these two columns and load into the Dynamics 365. To show you total number of count, you can see around it has 20,051 records here into this Excel file, this template file. So the advantage of having this structure is that it will give the data into the table format, so that it will define you the number of rows that it has the data and the number of columns it expands. So basically it will give the defined structure of the rows and columns, where it will be easy for us to loop through those records and read the data from the table. So that is why having the table structure in the template, it is having the advantage of looping the record through that. So that is the part of the tables entities, and then the Excel template which I have created it. So now inside the Dynamics, for this, to import it, I have created the console application. So I will open the console application here. So already I have created it, and this console application entire code I will be sharing in the description box of this video. So you can download this entire solution from my GitHub location, GitHub repository, you can download from your local into your local. So I will give the link of this entire solution there. So the console application I have divided into the five different main part. But before I go to the one by one here, you can know when you create the console application, we'll have the program.cs main function, and inside that I have created the object of the import from Excel file, which is nothing but my this class file, where my main logic of the code resides. Main code of the logic resides here. So and I have the one function, main function import file. Inside this import from Excel file, this is the entry function of this class, which will execute the one by one to perform the operation. So we will see the five different parts which I have divided for the console application. So first one is the part one, creating the CRM service. So obviously we have to connect our console application to Dynamics 365, and for that we need to set up the application registration in the Azure portal, and using that application registration we have to create the application user in the Dynamics 365, and we have to give the necessary permissions to that application user, and then using the client ID and secret what we generate from the application user in the Azure portal, we will be connecting to the Dynamics 365, so that we will have this service client created. So this part of video connecting to Dynamics 365, already I have explained in my another video. You can watch that and to get the details how it is coming, the setup and all I have explained. So currently this client ID and secret I have taken from one of my application user register on the Azure portal, and then I have this application user. So under the admin power platform, I have the environment and setting, and then from the setting we can go the application user. So this is my application user which I'm going to use for this import purpose. So all the records which we will create, it will be created to this application user. Okay, so this part it is you can go through the my other video and you can understand in the how we can do the setup of this one. So when my service client is ready, then our CRM service client is created and it is ready to use. So this is the part one of the CRM service client creation. So the next part is we have to load the CRM, load the Excel file, the template file which we have created into the application, into the console application. So for that we have to, I have what I have done is I have installed the references. So we are having the reference, this one. Um, office dot interoperability excel file. So this you can download the from the NuGet package manager, and you can add this package into your references here. So I have included here, and also I have included the xm.tooling connector. So this also I have installed in the references to my project. So you can install those two components so that you can access the SDK messages and other thing which if you want to use for the dynamics. So after installing, then only the all the references if you'll find that will be resolved. So make sure you have installed those two components, those two references into your project. Once it's installed, then I have to create the new application. So the new application Excel application is created. Then from that Excel application I am going to open the workbook, which is nothing but my location of my this Excel file where it is located in my local machine. So this path of this file I have added as a path here. This is the open path. It will read the file from here. So till full file names it comes here, till full file name. So you have to give the file name also into your path. So this is the workbook which it will open, and inside this workbook there is one sheet here. So this is the first sheet. So it will take the first sheet of this one with this name. So this sheet will be added to this variable. So now the sheet is loaded into the my worksheet variable here. So that is the second part, connecting to the local machines Excel file, template file, which we want to load into the CRM. Once it is loaded worksheet, then I need to initialize the few variables, the variables like the data where I need to map to, and then there are some the batches of the file which I want to create the record. I do not want to create all the record at once. What I'll do, I'll take the 1,000 records in one batch, and thousand for each 1,000 record there will be one asynchronous task which will be running in the background, and it will perform the operation on those 1,000 jobs. So total, since I have 20,050 records, so it will create around 21 asynchronous tasks, and those asynchronous tasks will have 1,000 records almost available to perform those create requests. So here in the part 3, so I'm going to initialize the variable. So first I have the one class file which I have created, because the Excel file, from the Excel file what we read the data, we have to map those data into the class, template class, so that we have it will be loaded into the program memory. So for that, this is the class I have defined. So this class also has two columns, two fields, basically name field and the full name field, the same way which I have the field names under the Excel file. So if you are having the more fields coming, then you need to modify this template class and add the more columns if you want to import to, if you are going to add the new columns into your template here. So this class we need to modify. So here I have the two field names, name and full name. So the object of that one I'm going to create, but for that one I'm going to read the data from the Excel. That is why I have one function here. The read Excel file data will go to this function, and inside this function I'm passing the sheet which I have loaded, the Excel sheet. This is the Excel sheet which we have loaded. So this will be passed to this function. So let's go to this function. Okay, so this function is taking the worksheet as a input file here, input argument here, and then we have created the list of the Excel template records. So they will be 20,000 records. So this list 20,000 data record will be created. So we need to add the list to all those 20,000 record under this list. So all the data we need to map it. So for that, we will read the how many records we are having in the worksheet first. So that is why from the worksheet we'll get the use range, which is nothing but, as I mentioned, when we use the table format your data here in the Excel, we'll get the use range, and then we know the rows, and then from there we can get the count of the rows. So how many records we are having. So in this list I will get around 20,050 records in the count. So for those count I have to loop through that, and for that I have for loop here, and I'm starting with the second row. You can see the row is 1 2 here, sorry, not one, it is having two. Why it is two here? Because the my first row is considered as a table column here, so table header columns, right? So this is a header for my table, so that is why I have to ignore this record and start from the second one. So that is why this row will start from second, and till I'll go for the all the rows, those 20,050 rows, and then for each row I will be taking the value of the cell, which is nothing but my first cell value, which is the one, which is nothing but the cell value of this one, like first column cell value, and then we are having the second column cell value is from this one. So first column will give me the name, second will give me the full name, and then I will put into the variable. And if we are having any data quality check, if you want to apply here, so in this for loop we need to apply, and suppose some data is corrupted, not good, there are some conditions, then you want to remove from your list of this data not to be created, then you can remove from here itself. So that is why I'm checking here if the data is null. I mean, any row which is added which is not having the value correctly inserted, then those rows will not be considered for import. So like that, if you want to add your some conditional data quality check here on your retrieved column value, you can add it, and then based on your conditions you can create the new object of the Excel template where you need to map the value to the name column to the name value, and the full name to the full name. So this is the same way the name what we see here, right? To this name field and full name field, we will map this one name value and the full name value here. So, and once it is there, this Excel data, one record will be added to this list, which we have created here. So like that, the for loop will run 20,050 times, and then it will create 20,050 records. If the data are valid, no, none empty records are not there, then it will add those list item here. So finally, it will return me the list of those records. So that is the purpose of this function. So it will basically, it will load the data from the Excel file into the memory of the program and into this data template for class object here. So it will give me the Excel data, and this list will have the 20,050 records here, which I will be using for the further in to map into the Dynamics 365 and then to create it. So here, this is the variable for that. Then we are having the batch size. As I mentioned, I have taken the thousand record for the batch size, which means the task which will create the object, create the CRM records. It will take the 1,000 records in one batch, and then one task will be running for those 1,000 records only. So it will be running till thousand. So it will take those times records till it will reach the 20,050 records. So like that, it will get around 21 asynchronous task, and then we'll see that. So that is why I have taken the one list also of the task type, so that those 21 tasks which will be created I can put into the list, and for those tasks I will be wait for till it getting completed in its job. So that is why I have to create the list of the tasks, so that I can push those tasks into the list one by one, and those 1,000 records what it will be performing, and once the tasks are completed, then it all will be checked. So that is why the list of the task is created. So this is the few initial variable initialization here. I hope this is understood. So next is the looping through the records. So as we have loaded the data into this variable Excel data, so we need to start with the index number. So we start with the first index 0. Then we have to take the all the data. So which is the count of the data is around 20,050 records will get, right? So till last count, and then but here in index number we are initializing the batch size, because thousand slot of those batches records we are taking. So if first in the first time it will take the 0 to 1000 record, and the second time it will take 1001 to 2000 records, and next third time 2001 to 3000 record, like that it will take. So that is why I'm incrementing the start index with the batch size, and then for those batch sizes records it will take the total maximum size how much it has reached. So if it is less than the total count of the record, then it will perform the operation of this loop. Okay, so inside this one, then we are having the batch data. So the batch data I'm taking from that Excel file. So I will skip the start index and I'll take the next 1000 records. That is why it will skip those starting index number, and then it will take from that index number to the next batch size, which is nothing but 1000 records. So currently suppose index number is 2000, so it will 2001, so it will take the it will start with the index number 2000, 2000, and it will take the next 1000 records till 3000 records, it will be picked into the list. So it will be added to this batch variable. So in this, every time this batch will have the around 1000 records loaded, and those for those 1000 records I will create the task here. I will run the task, and then for the task, you can see for this particular record, when this batch is selected, then I have to map this to particular entity where I need to create it. So basically, if we go to this function here, I need to map the entity for which I'm going to create. So here, that is why I have, for this Excel data, for that tier class, I have created the new entity. The entity name is something .NET import is, which is nothing but this entity name, logical name of this entity. Then this is the entity logical name. Then to which column I'm going to map? I'm going to map the name field to the .NET underscore name field, and the full name to the .NET underscore full name, and then it will return the entity. So every time for those 1000 records, it will create the new entity here, and then it will map to the batch, to the entity. It will give the entity for that, and for that batch it will create the list of that one records, and then for this one, and then we are going to execute the multiple requests. Basically, I'm going to create the request, all the records of those 1000 using the multiple execute requests. So for that, this is the function defined. So I hope this part is understood. Map to the M365 entity, because the data what we have retrieved from this loaded file, Excel file, I'm going to map to the table, or we can say entity, which I'm going to create. So this function will do that job. It will map the data into the entity, and it will give me the entity here, and then for those entity I'm converting to list. Then this function will execute, and this function, it will uh, it will have the list of those entity, and then for then first we need to create, we have created the execute multiple request. This multiple request we can we will be, it will be created 21 times, because as we can see here, um, since we are retrieving we are retrieving those all the index count, right? So every time for those loops, each time the task is created, and for each task we are having this execute records. So that is why if we are having 20,050 records, then 21 tasks will be created, and each task will have the 1000 records. So that is why here the 21 execute, this one execute multiple will be created, and then multiple execute execute multiple requests will be created, and then and it will assign to each task. And this is the setting of that one. We are continuing on the error, and returning the response to true. So once the request is defined, we have to define the create request and add to this collection. So here for each entity what we have retrieved, which is nothing but 1000 entity here. In this case we will get the 1000 entity. So for those 1000 entities I've been taking one by one, creating the create request, and then assigning to the adding to the multiple request which we have created, so that each task will have that create execute multiple request, and it will have 1000 create request added to that. And then we'll execute the service here, and then this service will execute the those 1000 record creation, this create request, and it will happen asynchronously, because this function will be invoked and then it will be creating asynchronously when this when this loop will be happening for that. So after that we'll have the multiple response, and for this multiple response we can loop through that, and then based on the response, if you want to make some decision that the record got created successfully or not, for each one we'll have the response id created. If there is a fault in the response item, then if you want to if you want to trigger some notification or create the separate list of the file which was not imported due to some error, then you can do those kind of logic here inside this if log. So uh, this is the function defined for the execute multiple request. So here once it is created, so then executed, then this task will be created, and this task will be added to the task list which we have created. So like that 21 tasks will be created and added to the task list, and all those tasks will be running asynchronously in the background. And we will wait for this is the fifth part we can say, which I have mentioned here. So we will wait for all the tasks to get closed. When all the tasks are closed, then we will close the workbook which we have open here. So we have to make sure the workbook which we have open, we close it, we release it. So here we open it, so we will close the open workbook. We'll quit the application also which we created, the excel application here, so we'll quit it. And then the object which is created while loading the excel sheet, we have to release it. So for that, this is the function release chrome object. All these things which will occupy some memory, right? Worksheet, workbook and excel app, so it will occupy some memory in the heap, so we have to release it. So for that, uh, this since we have used the chrome interoperability, right, so we have to release this object from the heap using this line of code. And yeah, so this will release the memory from that, so using the garbage collection, and it will garbage collection dot collect, it will release the memory from the heap. So like that, in the last step we are just releasing the memory, and then quitting the applications and closing the open file. So once everything is done, then finally the time import will be completed. So this is the walkthrough of the code. Obviously you will be getting exactly the same code in the description box. You can download it and you can test it by yourself. So let's try this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this file, and then I'm going to run this application. So initially it is taking time to make this first CRM connection. So once CRM connections are done, so we'll get the message that connection is successful. Okay, so this part of the code is executed. Now it is going through the creating the record here. Okay, let's check if it is creating the record while refreshing this. It may take some time because it will first of all, it while loading the data from the excel file, it will take, because it has to loop through those 20,000 records, so it might take time there to load this excel file. And once it is loaded here, then it will start executing the creation part. So maybe that is why in the beginning it may take some time while loading it. Still loading. Let me add the breakpoint here. Okay, you can see if I put in the breakpoint, it is breaking here, which means code is running into this function still. So I'm just removing this breakpoint. Okay, so now the data has been read from the Excel file, and if you see this variable, I have the around 20,050 records loaded into this variable. Now this variable will be used for the further operation. So it will get the batch size, and for that batch size it will do that. So let's proceed further. Now it is executing the create multiple request. So it for each index number around 20 plus 1 21 in the 21 task will be created, and that it will be added to the task list here. So I'm removing this breakpoint from here also, and then continuing. So now the task will be creating asynchronously, so it will take some time the when the task will start running to create request. Now you can see it has a start creating the record. So it will get those 20,050 records here directly. So it may take around few minutes to complete this operation. So I hope this video was useful to you. So you can use this concept of this console applications in your projects and utilize this logic whenever you have the data import feature you want to implement for your project. So I hope this video was useful to you, and thank you watching this video.